Hello, Planeswalkers! Tyler here, bringing you another episode of Tribal Talk, the show where I look at an underutilized and underappreciated creature tribe in Magic the Gathering, and see what could be done to bring them more relevance in the Commander format. Before we begin, let's give ourselves a quick reminder of what tribe means in relation to Magic. According to the official wiki, a tribe is defined as Magic slang for a block, set, or deck with a mechanical theme centered around one or more creature types. I'm also pleased to mention that, just like the last episode of Tribal Talk regarding leeches, this one is also brought to us by a viewer. In this case, a good friend of the channel, Hitmon Champion, thought it'd be interesting to look at the tribe that has been around for nearly as long as Magic itself. The magical half-bird, half-cat, Griffins. So I'm going to be upfront with this one. Griffins, as a tribe, don't actually fit the same niche as the other tribes that I've covered on this show. They have an abundance of members, a fairly straightforward playstyle, and they even have a legal commander. Not counting cards that make Griffin tokens and their own support land, Griffins have a total of 49 members. While nothing impressive compared to the hordes of dragons, goblins, humans, and the like, it's also the highest number of any tribe represented here so far, which begs the question, why dedicate an entire episode to Griffins at all? The answer lies in a few simple details, honestly. Griffins have been a mainstay in mythological culture and fantasy culture forever, and if I'm being real, the Griffins that we have are like super boring. Seriously, of those 49, 4 of them have vigilance and flying with no other abilities. An additional 8 have just flying and nothing else. Another 4 have just flying and first strike, and 4 more come with just flying and requiring to sacrifice themselves for a mediocre effect. That leaves us with 29 Griffins that have quote-unquote unique effects, though some of them, like the Boreal Griffin and the Fledgling Griffin, require additional resources just to bring themselves up to the low bar the previous 20 set. If all that wasn't enough, the only legendary Griffin that exists is mono white, meaning that of the now 48 Griffins you have, removing Zuberi from the mix, you can only run 38, providing that you're also packing snow mana for that frightening Boreal Griffin. That's where Griffins really fall short. Like the Cyclopes for red, or Crabs for blue, Griffins have mostly been shoved into the role of the big dumb janky flyer for white, which severely limits their effectiveness on the battlefield. However, that's where I come in. I think Griffins have enough of a shell amongst themselves to save their tribe, provided we can give them a push in the right direction. Kinda like a mother bird yeeting her offspring out of the nest and into adulthood. Let's start with color identity. 39 of the 48 available Griffins are mono white, so naturally white will be our primary color. Following that, we have blue, as seen in the cards like Senate Griffin, Mist Hollow Griffin, and Resplendent Griffin, which puts our 39 count at 45. For the remaining 4, we have the Setessan Griffin, who has a green activated ability, Screeching Griffin, who has a red activated ability, Retaliator Griffin, who's the full red-white-green, and Sentry of the Underworld, who's white-black. For the ease of keeping track of things, let's cut these 4 and focus on white and blue, colors known for their flyers and tokens, which we'll cover in the next section. While bringing up flyers makes sense, since every Griffin, with the exception of the Fledgling, can fly naturally, I bring up tokens because I want to look at 2 support cards for Griffins, namely Griffin Guide and Griffin Airy. Griffin Guide is an enchantment, another theme that we'll touch on later, that gives the enchanted creature +2/+2 in flying. When the enchanted creature hits the graveyard, however, you get to make a 2/2 flying Griffin token. The Airy is another enchantment, though it's not an aura this time, that passively gives you 2/2 flying Griffins if you manage to gain 3 or more life in a turn, the final theme that we'll touch on. I like both of these as a groundwork for support cards, since numerous Griffins care about enchantments and are capable of fishing them out of the grave or cheapening their costs, such as Griffin Dreamfinder or Transcendent Envoy. The Envoy is even an enchantment itself, and since it cheapens auras, it plays very nicely with the guide. It'd be interesting to see more cards like this enter the Griffin's arsenal, like auras that create tokens. As for the Airy, I like the idea of cards that give you more creatures for doing what the creature wants to do. I could see something like Griffin Hatchery, an enchantment for 4 and a white that makes 2/3 flying griffins on each of your end steps if a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control this turn. Or Ready for Combat, another enchantment that puts your choice of lifelink, vigilance, or a first strike counter on any griffin that enters the battlefield under your control. This could play into the flavor of a flock of griffins all preparing to defend their homes, with different members being delegated to different duties. So I've touched on lifelink a couple times now, and it also plays into what I like about Griffin Airy. Having inherently simple themes doesn't make a deck bad, and in my opinion, it actually helps more people get into the game, since simple decks can be both easy to pilot and fun to play. It's why I like dinosaurs so much. And I think that making a predominantly white archetype focus on what white does best, namely life gain, tokens, and swarming, with help from blue for both protection and added abilities for enchantments, fits perfectly with what griffins need to be decently fun and threatening in their own right. Not to mention, having blue really complements the sub-themes of having auras and enchantments that don't necessarily change the board state when they hit, and instead need a little bit of help getting going. So, having access to counter magic to protect your pieces is absolutely vital to avoid those dreaded 2-for-1s. The last major piece I want to hit on before wrapping things up is the subject of a commander for this deck. At the moment, we have Zaberi, Golden Feather. He's a 3/3 legendary griffin for 4 and a white who gives +1/+1 to all other griffins, including any on your opponent's side of the field. He isn't bad, so to speak, but as we mentioned earlier, he doesn't give us access to any other colors other than white, and for this reason, while I can see him in our 99 as a good lord, I'd like to entertain 2 different ideas for a potential commander. Option 1 is just another legendary griffin. That's it. Make them mono white, maybe with the blue activated ability, and care about either tokens, life gain, griffins, or all 3. Something like, I don't know, this. Here we have Zuri, Heart of the Flock, a 3/5 legendary flying griffin for 4 and a white. In addition to flying, she also comes with lifelink as well as blue-white, tap up to 3 untapped griffins you control, gain life equal to the amount of griffins tapped by Zuri's effect. Tap a number of creatures your opponent controls equal to the amount of life gained from Zuri's effect. By having blue in her text box, she gives us access to both of our colors, while her abilities synergize well with our established themes. Having lifelink herself, as well as 3 power, puts her right in the sweet spot of what the Airy wants to create tokens. On top of that, her activated ability requires more griffins to use, making use of those tokens and both granting more life for the Airy, as well as clearing the way for her Griffin Brew to attack safely. The other option, I wanted to take some inspiration from Korvath Brightflame and Sylvia Brightspear from Battlebond, and play with these 2. Ishtar, Feather Illusionist, a 1/1 human wizard for 2 and a blue, who comes with, whenever a non-token griffin enters the battlefield under your control, create a token copy of that creature, and partners with Buckneer. And Buckneer, a 3/3 flying griffin for 4 and a white with all wizards you control have flying and lifelink, and partners with Ishtar, Feather Illusionist. The 2 of them together support each other's tribes, like how Korvath supports knights and Sylvia supports dragons. Together, they continue to play into the roles of what we've previously settled on, with Ishtar making tokens and Buckneer helping gain life. They also come with the added flavor of Ishtar making mounts for wizards and Buckneer leading the now mounted wizards and griffins into battle. This method leans a bit away from pure griffin tribal in favor of bonuses from running wizards, but hey, sometimes tribes need to help each other just to get ahead. And there we have it. My take on how we can elevate griffins to the next level in Commander. I didn't delve as deeply into additional creatures as I did with other tribes, but that's because I think a lot of what griffins have is a solid starting point, and they just need help getting there. I hope I did you guys proud with my thoughts on these majestic bird cats, and I wanted to give a quick thank you to my buddy Hitmon Champion for suggesting it. If you want more content like this in the future, be sure to leave us a like, comment down below with what tribe you'd like to see covered in the future, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to ring that little notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Later, y'all.